Today on Dunston Brews, the Plinian Legacy. Plinian? Don't know how to say it correctly. Plinian Legacy. This is going to be an interesting brew, especially because I don't know how this beer is supposed to taste when it comes out, so I'll have no idea if we got close or what. It's just going to be something fun to try. We have a pretty heavy grain bill that you'll see here. We're mashing in just a little over 15 pounds of grain in the mash ingredients. We have some boil additions of the hop shot, the Columbus, the Simcoe, and the corn sugar. So this is going to be a really hoppy beer in the aftertaste. We have dry hop additions as well, and we have the yeast packs that we're going to be putting in. So we're going to do the dry yeast and the liquid yeast like last time. We've been getting decent results with that in lieu of having a starter. So here's our recipe. We're going to go ahead and fill up and bring ourselves to our mash temp, and we should have a really great beer. Talk to you soon. So 6.5 gallons have been entered into our mash kettle, which will also be our complete brew kettle since we're doing a brew-in-a-bag system. And our target temp for the mash in is going to be 150. So we need that needle basically right between this 140 and 160 we're looking at there. So once we heat up, as opposed to other times, I'm going to try and maintain the temperature at 150 for a good 5 minutes before the mash. I always rush in and then the mash temperature goes a little too high and I'm dialing it back. So the lesson for today is going to be keeping the mash at 150 sustained, or keeping the hot liquor, which is the term for water. They call it hot liquor. I guess liquor in German means water or something there approximately thereby. So the trick is going to be keeping the hot liquor at about 150 for a sustained 5 minutes pre-mash. And that's going to be a hell of a mash if you look at this giant grain bill. Alright, so we've been able to maintain at 150 for the length of an extended phone call with a family member. So I'm using that as the judge that we've been able to hit and maintain our desired mash temp. So we're going to mash all this grain in. So unfortunately, I need both hands to accomplish this feat, but I will record again with more updates once we've fully mashed in. So we are mashed in, and we are really pushing the limits of what I can do in this kettle here with this huge grain bill. This is really intense, but the smell's incredible as always. So this is wonderful. We got about an hour to go before we're ready to mash out, and then we'll enter our boil phase and start with the beginning of this insane hop bill. Good times. So instead of doing a manual Vorloft like I normally do, I'm actually using my pump to do an automatic Vorloft. So what are we doing? We're pulling the wort out of the bottom of the kettle, running it through the pump, and then pumping it back out on the top. And this is just to make the wort as homogeneous as possible so the temperature is consistent through the wort and we don't have hot spots. And also to make sure that we get as much sugar as possible pulled off of the grain into the wort before we mash out, meaning pulling the grains out of the wort. So all we have to do now is monitor the temperature, and in about an hour we will have our boiling phase. Perhaps I'm very easily impressed, but this shot right here I always like, when the beer is Vorlofting out of the pump and creating that great little watershed of cooking wort as we're still in the mash. Regulating the temp. Brew day going pretty great so far. So that mash out was pretty intense. That grain bill proved to be way too heavy to pull out diagonally through here. I ended up having to take the kettle off of the stove, putting it on the floor, and then moving the grain bill out of the kettle and into our sparge bucket. So what we're going to do is slowly sparge out from the grain bill that's inside and re-pour this extra wort that has that last bit of sugar off of the grains back into our wort, which we are now bringing to boil. And when the boiling has started and we're officially in the boil phase, we'll start with our hop shots and do our hop additions with our hop basket. All right, this is fun. I've never caught this on video before, but this is what you would call the hot break. Hop shot number 1. Hop shot number 2. Hop addition Columbus. Hop addition Simcoe. So we are flame out. So we are going to do our final hop additions at flame out, and we're going to let it sit for 15 minutes before taking out all of the hops in the hop basket. And then we will cool overnight and move to pitch. Our brew day is complete. We've transferred the wort from the brew kettle to our fermenter, and we've transformed the wort into beer with our yeast additions. The fermentation process will take approximately 2 weeks, during which we'll be doing our dry hop additions to finish the accent of the flavor profile of this very high IBU beer. It also had an original gravity of 1.076, meaning there's a lot of sugar within this beer to be converted into alcohol by the yeast. So we'll end up with a high ABV, or alcohol by volume beer, at the end of it, as most high IBUs tend to be. Again, thank you for joining me. Please remember to like and subscribe, and please enjoy my other brewing videos. Thanks so much.